When Donald Trump and Xi Jinping meet in Busan next week, the world's biggest economic rivalry goes face-to-face again. When US President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping meet next week in Busan, the world will be watching not just two leaders, but the fate of global trade itself. Both sides are entering the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit amid a storm of tariffs, tech wars, and geopolitical rivalry. And for Americans, from Wall Street traders to Midwest manufacturers, the stakes couldn't be higher. The Trump administration is threatening 100% tariffs on Chinese imports starting November 1st. Everything from electronics to auto parts. China's answer? Tough export curbs on rare earth minerals, the metals behind America's chips, EVs, and defense systems. This isn't round two of the old trade war. It's a new battlefield over technology and supply chains. The US wants to cut dependence on China. Beijing wants to prove it can't be cornered. That clash now sits at the center of global inflation, tech costs, and even job creation back home. Just days ago, US and Chinese officials met in Malaysia to cool the rhetoric before the summit. No major deal, but enough to keep communication lines alive. Analysts call it a tactical pause, not a truce. For Trump, this meeting is political and personal. He campaigned on fixing the China imbalance, and heading into midterm election season next year, a bold trade win plays well with voters. For Xi Jinping, the optics are different. A chance to show China's economy is steady, its leadership unbent under US pressure. What could come out of Busan is difficult to guess, but possibilities include maybe a limited tariff delay, maybe an agreement on rare earth supplies, or maybe more confrontation. Because behind the handshakes, both sides are preparing for a long-term decoupling, two parallel tech and trade systems. For US consumers and businesses, every headline matters. A tariff spike means higher prices on imports, from smartphones to solar panels. But a breakthrough could steady markets and ease inflation just before the holidays. So when Trump and Xi sit across that table in Busan, it's not just about tariffs. It's about who writes the next chapter of the global economy. The outcome could hit portfolios, paychecks, and price tags of the products we buy.
Mr. President, thank you, President Trump.
You okay?
Yes. On fentanyl.
We're going to lose
Sorry
him.
about that. On fentanyl,
we have
President
some
Trump.
good medical help right over there. That's all right.
On fentanyl, according to CDC data, nearly 330,000 Americans died over the past 5 years from fentanyl. That's 1 in every 1,000 Americans who died.
It's more than that, but it's all right.
Yes,
It's
I
more.
know you think it's even more.
I'll be discussing that with President
Yes,
Xi.
so that's actually my question.
I figured it was.
I was wondering, since it mostly comes from China and has caused such carnage in the U.S., what are you going to say to convey the seriousness? And also a second question for you or Secretary Hegseth. Is there any evidence that China is now smuggling fentanyl through Venezuela to bypass U.S. and Mexican port controls?
They are doing that, yes. But they are paying right now a 20% tariff because of fentanyl. That's billions and billions of dollars that they're paying. We're actually, on November 1st, the tariff on China goes to 157%, which is record-setting territory. And we don't want that because it's not sustainable for them. They can't sustain that. We don't want them to have to go through that. So I'm meeting with President Xi, and I would say we have some big issues, like with the farmers and various other things. But the first question I'm going to be asking him about is fentanyl. And if you think about it, they make $100 million. Think of this. They make $100 million selling fentanyl into our country, $100 million. They lose $100 billion with the 20% tariff. So it's not a good business proposition. It's $100 billion approximately that they have to pay. It's a big penalty to make $100 million. So I think they want to do something. They want to put it on the list. It's on the list. It's one of the things we're talking about, and I'm putting it right at the front of the list. So they pay a very big penalty for doing that, and I don't think they want to be doing it. And we'll see what happens at the end of next week, because I'll be meeting next week, as you know, along with we're stopping in Malaysia, we're stopping in South Korea, we're stopping in Japan. I'm meeting with President Xi actually in South Korea. So it'll be the first thing on the list. Yeah, please.
Yes, Mr. President, on the drug vote. boats, on the drug boats, sir, has there been any discussion about capturing one so that you can show the amount of narcotics?
We know everything about them, yeah, Jennifer. We know everything about them. We know where they're coming from, who they're coming with, generally who's in the boat. I'll let Pete discuss it a little bit, but they have incredible intelligence. And, you know, usually when you see 5 engines, I've never even seen that before, but when you see 5 engines on a boat going about 65 miles an hour, loaded up with white powder in silver cases, generally speaking, that's not a good sign. They're not going fishing, right? And you don't see any fishing rods, right? So, Pete, I'll let you discuss that a little bit, please.
Well, yes, sir. Likewise, generally you don't see fishing in submarines either, sir. So the U.S. military, as I mentioned, nobody better in the world at mapping networks, identifying who's connected to who, inside terrorist organizations. It's just the media is used to hearing that when it pertains to Afghanistan and Iraq and ISIS and Al-Qaeda. But if you reframe how you understand the world in our own hemisphere, that's exactly what these foreign terrorist organizations are. And so we will track them, we will map them, we will network them, and we will hunt them and kill them because they're trying to and they are killing and poisoning the American people. And inside that, we have all the license necessary, all the authorities necessary to take these kinetic strikes, and we'll continue to take them.
And we've been, you know, just to add, because I think it's important, we've been capturing them for years. You know, it's not like, gee, let's capture one. We've been doing that for years. For 25 years, we've been doing it. Not at a level like we're doing it now. I mean, just with the hits we're hitting, but we have much more intensity than any administration's ever had. But we've been capturing these boats for years, and they get back into the system, and they do it again and again and again, and they don't fear that. They have no fear. The thing I can tell you right now, it's very hard to find any floating vessel right now on the Pacific or in the Gulf, and I would like to call it by its official name, the Gulf of America. Another little triumph of the Trump administration. I said for years, I said, why do we call it the Gulf of Mexico? It's 93%. The shoreline is 93%. All right, so I never understood that. So I made that change. I never realized how easy that was going to be, other than, I guess, AP fought us in court, and the judge said, but that's the name. And actually, they were sort of semi-prohibited from even covering us after that. It was pretty amazing. But we have the Gulf of America, and there are very few boats, very, very few boats, not even fishing boats, to be honest. I don't want to do that to the fishing industry, but it's been so effective. And our sea drugs, as they call them, they use the term sea drugs, the drugs coming in by sea, are like 5% of what they were a year ago, less than 5%. So now they're coming in by land, and even the land is concerned because I told them that's going to be next. You know, the land is going to be next, and we may go to the Senate, we may go to the, you know, Congress and tell them about it, but I can't imagine they'd have any problem with it. I think, in fact, while we're here, I think it's a good idea, Pete. You go to Congress, you tell them about it. What are they going to do? Say, gee, we don't want to stop drugs pouring in. They're killing 300,000 people a year. I think that's the real number, 300,000 people a year. So between that and my discussion with President Xi, I think we have never made progress like we've made. The sea drugs are almost dead, and they can't come in that fast from the land. And the land drugs are much more dangerous for them. It's going to be much more dangerous. You'll be seeing that soon. So that's the way it is, yeah.